The important point is that there is one self there. This is the center of all problems, center of suffering. Dissolve this. Lotus flowers blossom out of itself, discarding the discarding itself. Use the sentences that discard themselves, that don't grasp themselves, to remind yourself it is the cutting, help cut through for oneself and everything simultaneously. Use these sentences. Not relating, from not relating itself, it doesn't grasp for itself. Lotus flowers discarding the blooming states, not just blooming, discarding the blooming. Just like discarding the discarding itself, not only discarding something. Any sentences discarding themselves, dissolving themselves, all terminologies are like that. Make a conclusion without doing anything at all. Make a conclusion to cut through only. Conclusion, discarding conclusion, constantly. This is cutting deluded knowing for oneself and samsara at the same time. Help cut through deluded knowing for oneself and samsara and everything simultaneously. This is not just giving the enlightenment for oneself, but to give enlightenment, cutting deluded knowing, to help ending simultaneously with everything and samsara. It is to bless. Just like not relating doesn't grasp for not relating itself with everything. Not relating doesn't grasp for itself, it is discarding itself. Unwinding, discarding, unwinding. This is more worthy than life because it is beyond life, beyond oneself, beyond life. It is beyond anything, beyond samsara. Disengaging, discarding itself. Not relating, discarding itself. From disengaging, disengaging from itself. Disengaging, not relating to itself. You can use all of this. Just use it to purify the reminders themselves. This will make everything that has been knotted by the delusive attachments to be unwound altogether with everything, with all matters. All the differentiation is because of opinions and meanings. Samsara is the same in the way of fixation to knowing and seeing and opinions and meanings. When that happens, there is a differentiation, which is becoming belief values of each one, each group, each fellow people. Samsara turning into differentiation, separation. This is from the only thing, opinions and meanings. The basis of samsara is delusive attachment to opinions and meanings. even they don't conflict with anyone, but there is a conflict within oneself, not fixated to anyone, but fixated to oneself. This is the form of samsara. Just like tongue and teeth in one mouth always clashes. These opinions and meanings have been there since many periods of times, for many generations, always having conflicts, may have offenses for many periods of time towards one another. This is not just within this lifetime. This lifetime is like one branch of a big tree. Each lifetime is like each branch of a big tree. It is just branches of karmic difficulties, which is derived from the root, the origin. Each lifetime has an origin of itself. Since when it has been done, creating the karma and receiving karmic retribution, which is the end result. Once there is delusive attachment to opinions, it's impossible to have no conflicts. Once there are opinions, there are differentiations in thoughts, in feelings. Differentiation is already clashes bit by bit until it's more and more, until there are quarrels and then killings, hurting and harming to life. This is the karma that has been developed on and on, further and further. This is the root of karma, which is from delusive attachment in seeing and knowing, in opinions and meanings. That's why each Buddha had to come down to give the enlightenment, to cut deluded knowing, to cut through deluded knowing that samsara hold on to, because that is the root cause of the creation of karma. If this is not purified, everything will be endless. It will be the cause of karma that always develops further and further, back and forth, to hurt and harm each other back and forth. This is the cycle of karma, which is endless. This time you are the victim. Next time you're going to be the doer. Next time you are the doer. And then the next time you're going to be the victim. Circling like this endlessly. In all this process of karma, whether it is so much having so much great bliss fortune, if you do something as karma, the bounce back be to yourself. Therefore, how to give ending to this cycle? You have to use the essence of cutting deluded knowing as a conclusion. It's impossible to use otherwise. Everything is from disengaging itself. Disengaging, discarding itself, it doesn't grasp for itself. Everything is from not relating to not relating itself. Not relating doesn't grasp for itself. Like this, it will be unwinding, discarding, unwinding itself. It is the essence of the enlightenment. Just remind to use for oneself, for samsara, for cutting. Use this all at once, for oneself, for samsara, for everything. Then it will be okay. The problem is that there is no cutting deluded knowing. There is only just fixation to knowing and leading towards karmic difficulties. Even you don't create karma in this way, but the lifestyle is karma within itself, trying to dwell within the living. That is the delusive attachment that is overlaying. The attempt to live, to dwell within oneself, to live, it is karma within itself already. Must use the essence of cutting deluded knowing to help cut through for samsara only. Using normal loving kindness is endless. Using empathy back and forth also endless. There is no cutting. It just behaviors that look good, sharing for one another back and forth. But it is not the essence of cutting deluded knowing. Therefore, it's endless. Still circling, sentimentally clinging to each other back and forth. It is another kind of suffering. It is not from hurting and harming, but because of sentimental clinging, becomes suffering in itself. Sometimes it's not because of hurting and killing each other, but it is the suffering of fixation to oneself. Sometimes it's not suffering because of not fixated to other people, but fixated to oneself. Attachment to one's own knowing, opinions and meanings, one's own emotions, fixation to any state of mind within oneself. This is the suffering. Even not having suffering because of killing and war or anything else, but there is fixation to oneself. That is the suffering in itself. In all forms of samsara that has been, it's all about suffering and the cause of suffering because of the fixation to oneself. In order to correct this, cut deluded knowing. No need to interpret in complication. Just listen, just cut. How is it about this cutting? How is it about the essence of cutting deluded knowing? What is it that is the enlightenment? There is no complication at all. Any sentences that you hear, it cuts within itself. That is the essence of the enlightenment. That's it. That can end the cycle of samsara in all forms. The bondage with seeing and knowing, the bondage with opinions and meanings, thoughts, fabrication of thoughts. This is the cause, the original cause of suffering. Knowing that is not cutting to knowing is the bondage with the acknowledgement. It is the knowing that doesn't cut through itself. That is the original cause of samsara, of knowing. Therefore, the essence of the enlightenment, of cutting deluded knowing, has to be made a conclusion well. Everything is from not relating to not relating itself. It will end all clinging to knowing and seeing automatically. Disengaging, discarding itself, not relating, discarding itself, from not grasping for not grasping itself. Use these reminders to cut through constantly. That's it. proceed simultaneously with everything. From not grasping for non-grasping itself, not grasping, discarding itself with everything. Everything is from disengaging itself. It is discarding itself. Proceed simultaneously with everything constantly. This is the reminder to help cut through for one another constantly. Normally, looking, seeing, there is no cutting. It is just a habit that is circling, thinking or recalling. It just continue the emotional karma on and on. There is no cutting at all. So use the reminders to help cut through deluded knowing until it's become the essence of the enlightenment at all times.